Well,
Oh. Well.
well, time to jump into the piss pot.
Take a bath, baby.
Take a bath in the piss pot. That's right.
The water's fine.
That's
the
bad.
water.
Well, we have an update for you. We decided we're changing the name of the show to the piss pot, but it's only when MJ and I are the ones hosting, which is this episode.
That's right.
In fact.
Is it because, hey, Spencer, what color was your shirt when you first got it?
Oh, this was yellow, but it's now more yellow because of piss.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Yeah.
That's the answer there.
It used to be a much lighter yellow, but you know.
Do you use piss to dye your hair?
Exactly.
Yeah,
have you seen?
Just get really dehydrated before.
Have you seen the Swiss jeans freak? Do you know who that is?
I have no idea. What is that?
Swiss jeans?
He's a Swiss jeans freak. He's just a Swiss guy from from Switzerland, and he's a jeans freak. He loves jeans. But he did an experiment where he soaked jeans in piss to see what the fades would be like. So he has some piss jeans out there. So it is like
do they look good? Do they look like nice?
Let me Google Swiss jeans freak piss. I'm afraid
Spencer's search history is scuffed.
It's gonna be so bad. Yes, okay, I found it. Effects of urine with denim from Swiss jeans freak.
Swiss jeans freak. Here we go.
What if you soak?
I follow him on Instagram. I didn't know about the piss thing until recently.
He looks just like a denim head.
He is a denim head.
Yeah.
DH.
Denim head with piss on the body.
So you know what's so funny? There's the first result that comes up is like a denim form where someone asks effects of urine with denim. And then when I scroll down and they have like other posts in this forum. One of them is maybe it's just me ... but fat people piss me off. What's going on with this denim forum? But anyway, it's kind of fun.
I guess recent. in a true fashion, get it, menswear. That this episode has to start with piss. Like I don't. This end of the year episode right here, capstone.
We love our piss and poop things on this show. That's our thingy.
That's right.
Thingy.
Maybe next time I meet Chris Pine, I can ask him about how he thinks about piss.
That's right. Hey, Chris.
Yeah.
Hey, Chris.
His eyes, I'm telling you, man. I was like, when I saw. Here's the full story. I know this is coming out like months later after it actually happened to me, but I went to go over to Gaya Kashmir, which is my local coffee place. It's the same coffee place apparently where I was sitting next to Gillian Jacobs. I should have been like, Britta Unfiltered. Yeah. I mean, I think it was her because she was wearing like sunglasses and she was like with her mom. Like when she walked away, I was like, why does she seem so familiar? I'm like, oh shit, that was Gillian Jacobs. Mm-hmm. And then, like, one time I had, like, a lonely Friday, because it was, like, there was, like, no one there. It was just me. And then, like, I see a guy jog up, order coffee, and sit next to me. I'm like, holy shit, that's Jason Segel.
That's Jason Bourne.
Yeah. Which is really funny because, like, a guy did recognize him. He's like, oh, I loved, like, Freaks and Geeks. And he was there with, like, his like, elderly dad. And the guy goes to the restroom, and the elderly dad goes to Jason Segel, goes, you famous or something, kid? Jason Segel's like, yeah, I guess, I'm an actor. He goes like, have I seen you in anything? It was like one of those typical like old people who don't know so like what like an actor is. And like when the guy came back, he's like, hey, I'm really sorry about my dad. He's like, it's fine. Like it's not a big deal. But yeah, I was at Gag Kashmir and I was talking to Davide, the owner and proprietor, really cool guy wearing this like have you seen like remember like those like fisherman smocks? Like, it's like a pop over kind of a thing, canvas cotton. It was like yellow, and we were talking about that. And I hear this guy like walking up and goes like molto bene, like just like very exaggerated Italian stuff. I'm like, oh, this guy's kind of cool. And I'm like, why does the voice sound so familiar to me? Mm-hmm. And then he like looks at me and goes like, damn, man, that's a nice suit. Is that Ralph? And like puts down his sunglasses, and I see those piercing eyes that Chris Pine has, and I'm like, holy shit!
Like, I want you to join my cult.
Is he in a cult?
No, the Don't Worry, Darling.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. I thought you were going to like Scientology or something.
Yeah, of course, that's his most famous role. The movie everyone loved. Yeah. Don't Worry, Darling.
Someone asked me if he spit on me or whatever. That's kind of funny. Was it him or it was Harry Styles? Which one?
It was Harry. Allegedly, they both deny it happened, but watch the video footage and decide for yourself. But allegedly, it was Harry Styles who spit on Chris Pine.
Because it's like he looks down and Chris looks down and then like looks like upset.
Yeah,
at
he
right?
looks
Like,
down and then goes like a little like hand thing. Like, what the hell?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But no spitting happened here, and other than spitting, damn menswear.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying. But yeah, I had to tell him like, oh, it's not Ralph, but it's Atelier Few. He goes, oh, who is that? I'm like, oh, it's my friend. He makes these suits. He goes, that's sick, man.
These.
And then yeah, kind of, you know how we talk about like movies and people wearing the wrong things different seasons. He was wearing a T-shirt, but he also was wearing cream flannels. And I understand that in the 1930s, cream flannels were a summer thing you wear. I get it, but we're in. Hey, buddy, we're in 2022, darling.
2022.
You don't gotta wear flannels. 2023.
Yeah, we recorded this so long ago.
Yeah, in anticipation.
Yeah.
It's like it's like when I found that friend.
Banked episode that we have.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like the time when I saw a friend's Instagram and it says 2017 here I come, and it's because he hadn't used it, but in the contemporary time it just seemed so good.
That is so funny. 2017, here we come.
Yeah, I had that as my bio for a little bit, but I don't think anyone got it. I mean, that's the whole thing. We get made fun of a lot in our Discord that we do these jokes that no one gets. And
But we are amused.
we think it's funny.
We think it's hysterical.
But we look like fucking idiots.
We do it for us first and foremost.
Yeah. But welcome everybody. This is not a Chris Kind. Where's Chris Kind?
From 2022?
Yeah. Richard Kind.
Really quick, I just want to really quick kind of diversion. I was Divergent. I was doing some reading on like local history recently. I found this book that it's a history of Orange County from like 1921. And there's a whole section that's just like amusing anecdotes or something. And the first one is just a time in the 1890s where like a county supervisor mispronounced a word and everyone like made fun of him relentlessly for weeks. I just think it's so funny that has happened for so long. And also someone 30 years later was like, we need to record this for history forever. We need to make sure that people knew the time this guy mispronounced the word library.
How did he say it?
They were talking about
Library?
opening a law library, and so he said lawberry or something like that.
What a fucking idiot!
And then, like they were like they did not let up. They kept making fun of him for it.
Is that guy still alive today?
He is. That was me.
Okay, good. Oh shoot.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think there's never been like a Brita moment or something that we've just done that. I think our friend group we kind of just lean into it's a natural thing.
Well,
that
because
happens.
you do typos like fucking all the time, so it'd be impossible.
Yeah, it's a part of my. Well, I mean that typos are different than speech. It's not like I'm saying like, oh man, let's use the computator. You know
just
what I mean?
saying it's like the classic group chat thing of naming your group chat after a dumb typo that someone said. My favorite one of yours, really quick, is still when we were going to Disneyland, and instead of saying Space Mountain, you said Space Lunatic. Which is just a phrase that I still think about.
It's funny
all the time.
because for people who, I mean, you guys have probably seen it in the Discord by now, but it's like it's either autocorrect on my phone or it's just a straight up typo.
Yeah.
Like those are the two things, and I think it's funnier when it's an autocorrect thing. Yeah. I always think of this is our regular reference, but talk about recording history so you have it. The two Boston Brahmin guys.
That's right.
That's the craziest. Yeah, we're gonna have to find. I gotta find some way to like write a blog post about that.
About that specific video.
Yeah, because they don't even have the same accent. They don't even have the same.
They just
like one of them has like
New
the
England accents.
Yeah, one of them has like the Frasier accent. The other one has like just an old guy like. It's lively, and another guy's like.
Well, that's still a very like New England thing. It's like it's not.
I mean,
the same
I know
thing.
that, but like it's
It's
the
like
Boston Brahmins.
Yeah, it's like I guess it's like the kind of like nasally, and maybe the way is like his voice goes up at the end of sentences and stuff like that. That's all very very Boston. What a good video though. I love videos of.
What is it about the city of Boston that
accents.
makes me part? What is it about the city of Boston that makes me forego the fermented grape in favor of the drink of the hoi polloi?
That's right. Frasier season,
whatever. At this point, the season might be done because it's only like 6 episodes, I think, or whatever.
Really?
Right? So it's like
by the time this
like
episode releases, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think it comes out like next week. We're gonna have to fucking do a live watch party of that shit.
There you go, on Tubi or Pluto,
React.
whatever.
Yeah, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Welcome to Style and Direction, a menswear podcast without stuffiness. I am Ethan M. Wong.
I'm Spencer DSO.
And I'm MJ.
This is a show where we talk about menswear. It is the Menswear's podcast.
The Menswear's podcast?
Yeah. Yeah, they chose us.
Yeah.
How many menswear podcasts are there right now? There's probably like a billion of them.
I think there's just one, and we're it.
We're it.
We're the only menswear podcast.
You want to know you want to hear a hot take?
Mm-hmm.
And why we're the best one?
Yes.
It's because when you watch all of these these podcasts, they always try and talk about multiple things in one episode, and they run out of steam, bro. The way you do it like us is you spend one episode, 1 hour and a half, talking about one thing.
Well, more like you spend 30 to 40 minutes talking about one thing, and then the rest of the time, talking about poop or whatever we do.
Poop and pee-pee.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is the most meta episode. This is like the best of Comedy Bang Bang, where they peel behind the curtain.
We should do, I know it's not, we wouldn't be the first to do it, but we should do a fake, like, best of thing where it's like, it's like a compilation.
That's our AI episode.
No, but it's like a compilation, but I guess that is the AI episode. But yeah, it's like a compilation, but it's all things that never happened before, and we're just like, remember this? Remember when we got Chris Pine on the show?
Yeah. Hey guys.
Yeah. That'll be fun.
Me, Captain James T. Kirk.
Community did that, right?
Yeah, that's one of the best episodes where it's all random stuff, which I think is so good. Talk about Joel McHale. That we didn't say his name earlier. I'm just talking about him.
Yeah, talk about Joel McHale, please.
Yeah. Is he a menswear guy? I mean, Chris Pine's clearly a menswear guy.
I don't think he is. I just remember on Community, he's always like, I dress like David Beckham, and I always think of him just wearing like long sleeve T-shirts with the sleeves slightly rolled up. That's like how I picture Joel McHale.
It goes from the first season of like sport coat and like sweatpants to like Henley with slim jeans and boots, kind of a thing, like hot guy, like aughts outfit.
Yeah.
Talk about hot guy aughts outfit. We're talking about me today because earlier this year, if you guys haven't heard about it, or you guys should. I've already interviewed Spencer about journalist style, which is his take on. I mean, it's not just about the journalist style. We kind of talk about the Milsurp aspect of it. So
that's part of it. I think.
Spencer.
It's like the journalist only shops at Milsurp, military surplus stores.
Milsurp.
That's right.
Yeah.
And then we've also talked with MJ about his journey with menswear and how he kind of combines other like more designery, more hypey streetwear-ish adjacent pieces with his classic menswear because he's his own person.
Mm-hmm.
That's the whole thing here. And I thought, why not? We haven't done this. I mean, the last time we kind of did a retrospective on me was like I think like during the pandemic. I think one of our first bonus episodes was kind of like, or we did the whole. The Ethan journey, and we also did like the birthday episode where I talk about like what I wore to each birthday and how each year is different. And so I thought we'd talk about this today because it's like I don't know if it's we're past the pandemic now. We're past college. There's a lot of new things in my life, and I and even though I like to say in the Discord and the blog that a lot of it is the same, I think a lot of people in Discord have said it's a little bit different nowadays. Maybe the demeanor is different, the way you approach things.
Mm-hmm.
And so I thought, we talk about it here, and I'm going to let Spencer and MJ take the reins here.
That's right. Welcome to the piss pot.
Yeah, welcome. Take a bath.
Take a bath.
I want to also shout out Dan, who kind of asked us some questions earlier this year that kind of helped frame this as well, and I thought we'd expand on that because it's as I've been talking about expression. Dan had a good episode. He doesn't do a podcast yet. He's not going to compete with us. But he did a good article about, how we communicate and if we think it's accurate and all that kind of stuff. So that was a really good topic that I think we'll address in this episode. But Spencer, MJ, take it away.
All right.
From me.
From you. Take away the microphone.
Yeah, here we go. Whoop.
And now we're going to do an interview where you can't actually hear Ethan the whole time. All right. Well, Ethan,
Yes.
I want to talk to you about your style.
Yes. Let's talk. Let's dive in, baby.
One thing that I was kind of curious about and interested
Yeah.
in is a lot of your style writing involves the, kind of like categorizing different aesthetics and like looks and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But a lot of
Good,
times it
good
seems like you
question.
have difficulty kind of categorizing your own look. Is that because you don't
Ooh,
really
yeah.
feel like you want to be put in a box, or do you genuinely feel like
That's
you
so.
don't like
Yeah, that's
subscribe
really
to any one
funny.
thing?
Cause I mean, like, I think over the years, or yeah, I think you're right. I have like really gone deep into this whole thing, and it's to be clear, it's not about. For those of you listening who might have had a problem with how I've done it, it's not about like predicting how people dress or trying to make some kind of moral assertions. But I do think that the fact that we can recognize things that are coded, I think that's the big topic today when we talk about like social justice and cultural appropriation. Things can be coded to certain things. There's also starter packs. I think people can kind of get it.
Mm-hmm.
But with me, I think it's one of those things where like when someone tries to put you in a box, you're like, I'm not in that box. Like you don't believe it.
I'm
And I'm
not in
sure that
this
someone else
box.
out there,
Get me out
someone
of the
out there could
box.
make
Yeah,
sense of it.
that's what I
Um,
say.
and maybe it's because I think that the choices I make are so subversive that it's it can't be put in that
They're
box. It's
crazy.
like, you know, but I'm sure that that some box does exist, and I think eventually maybe someday it is just the Ethan box.
Yeah.
My narcissism is believe that I truly am a little bit different, but I'm sure that someone, especially like our friends who love to critique me, will probably be like, "You're not that different."
Well, because
So
I
it's
can also say I feel like your style has gotten a little bit more consistent. I've like
that is true.
you still do like a wider variety of looks than like I do. But at the same time, like, I remember like when we first met, you would do a lot of things where it's like, oh yeah, I'm doing like modern today, and then I'm gonna do full vintage, and that at a certain point kind of got like blended. And it's
Yeah, I mean
like,
that's because I had like the two separate
yeah,
closets at that point, right? And
and
then so now having the two together,
but I
it
feel
makes
like
it more cohesive.
it's like even though like you're when you're wearing a tie, it's very different than like, oh, this is a cool, sexy, like, shirt unbuttoned to the navel, kind of look. But at the same
Oh yeah,
time,
yeah,
it's
yeah.
like I can absolutely. I mean, I know that it's the same guy wearing both outfits, but they have the same
It's the
vibe, I
same
guess.
guy.
It's just what I mean. It's just like you look at
Yeah.
that and you do see some sort of through line. I think maybe the biggest. I don't know. The biggest change is like the introduction of Saffron Core. Which
Yeah,
do you
yeah,
think
like
did that
yeah.
have any like precedent before you watched the movie? Were you always? I guess you've always been into like the kind of like cool like villains look. You like the like
Yeah.
Voldemort or Darth Vader or whatever. Those
I
two
mean, it's
guys.
it's one of those things like I think I kind of hinted at it with like the casual Ethan episode, or I guess it's not an episode, we didn't do one on that, but it was a blog post, and I did include some image, even though I didn't have it myself at the time. I did include some images, I believe, of like people wearing slightly similar top bottoms, and I feel like that kind of made a suit, and I always thought of it as like like a lounge suit, right? Like I
Hmm.
think we've seen like Scott Frazier, right?
Yeah.
Like has like those like partner suits, like the shawl collar. I mean, you have like the Brycelands, shawl collar, um, like jacket. It's kind of like a smoking jacket, but it's belted or whatever. And I feel like there's this kind of precedent for like this robe or tunic, but like worn with like pleated trousers and like loafers. And
Hmm.
so I think Saffron Core was just kind of like, yeah, it was kind of an eruption from that, and I feel like it's also kind of like my only way into like fashion, like more just like a fashion, like a designer centric thing,
Yeah.
I know a lot of menswear guys who are like, oh, I love designers, I love Ralph Lauren or Armani. I'm like, yeah, okay, like it's still a suit, but this is like, I
This
think
is
with this, it's
real.
like it's it's more for me to appreciate like something that isn't tied inherently to like Americana, I would
Yeah.
say. Like this is a
Mm.
way for me to be like, well, I like I've always said that I like menswear because of its design. I just inherently like how the through roll two sack jacket looks. I like how a speed point collar looks. It's not just about, oh, I love that era and that's what they wore, so therefore I have to wear this thing. Like it's purely just aesthetics,
Mhm.
but it's hard to get that across when it's menswear, because it's so tied. I mean, even if I want to say it, it doesn't stop people from going, well, yeah, but you still look like you love swing dancing, I'm like, well,
Yeah.
it's not, but but with Saffin Core, it's like, okay, this is like fashion, and so my way of my love of Saffin Core or whatever, I mean, it doesn't really exist, it's not a real thing, but it's my way of going, see, I can like things for its design.
Mhm.
And I think that the keen-eyed people, I mean, you guys know, you guys were there when I first started picturing, like, damn, this looks sick as hell. It's proof that I think, like, oh yeah, this guy just likes the way clothes are designed, and then it's just these specific ideas, and of course the slouchy silhouette is carried over from both. And
Yeah.
so that's kind of like, yeah, that's the Saffron Core. It's fashion. I mean, I
It's
like
fashion.
clothes. I don't think it's no secret to anyone that I like clothes, and I think
Yeah.
that in terms of how my life or how things have pivoted, I think I've just been leaning further into that idea of just enjoying clothes.
Mhm.
You know?
Do you want to talk a little bit about? Oh, sorry, MJ. Did you have something?
Oh no, I was just gonna say. I mean, I have our notes open here, and Spencer kind of
Yeah.
like did a better version of the notes, which is good. But we talked about it a little bit outside of the podcast, talking about like how Ivy you are, or how one inspiration you are or another. Do you think you can boil down like
Yeah,
the
this
bullet
is
points of
so for some.
all of your
Yeah.
style inspirations?
I mean, so what's really funny, the reason I brought this one up, and I put some notes in it, because someone randomly tagged me in the MFA Discord saying, "Yeah, Ethan's kind of trad, right?" And people actually were like, "Is he trad?" And I like, they tagged me, and I'm like, I don't personally think I'm trad, but I definitely think that I, like, like Spencer hinted at, like, there's a lot of categorizations I have. It's never like a I mean, I think of them as a character sometimes, but it's never like, oh, today is like the art student, but he went to, like, he grew up in Connecticut or whatever. Like, I'm never
Yeah.
that far. I do have a friend. She does daily outfits, and then she does like facts about this character. Like, she just makes up stuff like, oh, this listens to Mitski, but then goes to art school, but then works at like a Fortune 500 company. I feel like that's really funny, and I think that kind of like just hints at the fact, my theory that people do know how to categorize their looks and code things. But for me, I don't think about it that hard. I never like think about it as like a full thing, but it's just like, today is Ivy, today is like trad, this is
Mhm.
rugged Ivy, this is preppy, Esquire man, this is Armani, this is 80s 90s yuppie. And yeah, I mean, obviously the through line there is that it all involves like big slouchy tailoring of some sort. There's always a lot of browns in there, a lot of dramatic collars, a lot of abstract ties. um, but yeah, I mean, there's a lot of them there, so it's hard to kind of, again, to go back to what Spencer was talking about. Like, it's hard for me to put myself into a box specifically, because I think these looks do have, even though they come from the same wardrobe, they still
Yeah.
have very different there's different, like, not rules, but like different like themes within each one that but I think it's been fun for me to kind of understand, to kind of make those distinctions with the wardrobe that I have, because I like a bunch of different ties. I like solid knits. I like tonal wool military ties. I also like foulards, but it's hard for me to think about a solid tie when it goes into like a Escarman fit, because he'd be wearing a foulard. So it's like being able to have all these different disparate identities. I mean, not even identities, just like these sub genres. Just lets me get the most out of my wardrobe.
Mhm.
But just because you're tailoring doesn't mean I'm trad necessarily. I think the closest thing I've kind of like trying to figure out is that the girls over at NIFED Alumni said that they were debating for a brief second if I was a dandy or not. And I
Okay.
think that might be the closest. I
Yeah.
think, I don't think I think like a dandy is someone who like is really fussy about their appearance and just takes a lot of pride in there. I think that makes sense. I don't think it matches like the stereotypical dandy of like very frou-frou, very
I get. Well,
overly
it's like,
put
when were those
together.
books published? Because you could probably say that there's a difference between how a quote unquote dandy dressed in like 2011 or whenever I Am Dandy came out versus now and like 2023.
Well, I think even then, we still got to cover that book. It's such a great book with such
Mhm.
great interviews with these cool people. I mean, a lot of them say that they're not dandies.
Yeah.
And I think, right, like the publisher was the one who said, like, hey, we got to call I Am Dandy.
Because
and,
we got to get
kind
that
of
word
made it
in
that
there.
way. Yeah, but I think that when you look at, I mean, especially the ones that are like have been doing it for years, like there's a good mix in there. I think there's a lot of people who are ostentatious, um, like they're like boulevardiers, like they're like descendants of some rich thing. There's
Yeah.
also a lot of people in there who are like a little bit more trad. I think so. Like Dandy Wellington obviously is like a good example of a very flamboyant dresser who is it's so good. And then you have other people like Mike. I think Mike Davis is in there, or like Michael Haar, who's a barber who does more like Esquire man, maybe like more sensible boardwalk empire 1920s fits,
Mm-hmm.
and I feel like that, and it's hard for me to look at like clearly they're both like dandies in the sense of like, again, a lot of pride in their appearance, making a bold statement, but in terms of like flash, I would like overall flash, I think Dandy Wellington, literally by the name and wearing like purple pants with like a velvet jacket, kind of fits that more. But
Yeah.
if we're again looking at it from like the modern era, I think that like any person who dresses up kind of fits, and so I think that's what would work for me. You know,
It might be fun to
I
interview.
feel like
Sorry, Dandy Wellington. I was just thinking about
yeah, I
him
think.
again.
I mean, there was one time where I follow him on TikTok now, and he was
Yeah.
saying like he had these pants, and they looked like like 50s gabardine trousers because they were like purple or peach or whatever Hollywood waist, and I'm like, that's so cool, and he's been doing this for years. I'm like, oh, he must have bought these like when vintage was still cheap, but he's
Mm-hmm.
like he had them custom made. I'm like,
Hmm.
who the hell's the tailor, bro? Like I want to know where you get the mill for like again purple gabardine
Yeah.
and who the hell made them like that, because that's so awesome. But again, I know New Yorkers love to gatekeep because it makes sense. I feel like over there it makes sense where like you find your own barbershop. You're like, I don't want anyone to ruin this. I get it.
Mm-hmm.
But here in LA, when you're like, I feel like we don't. And plus, we're not, the three of us. We're not gatekeepers in that sense. Um, but to go back to the MJ's question, I know it's a little bit roundabout, but like I think currently I feel like it's just Ethan's style. I feel like Ethan is just like that. Just means like you're everything, within this wardrobe of slouchiness. And again, a lot of the changes just have to do with how you button your shirt, what pattern is on your shirt, and what pattern is on your tie.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe the inclusion of casual pants like milsurp or flares plays a little bit, but in terms of suiting, I can go into a lot of different stuff just by changing the shirt and tie combination. Um, and so it really is just that, because I think a lot of guys who are in boxes have like one look, right? There's like Ivy guys, like Mark Cho has some Ivy, but he's still like that kind of continental classic, whatever like the
Mm-hmm.
classic menswear thing is, like so that's yeah, it's kind of hard for me to put. I think it's just me, like like it's like asking John Williams, well, what's your style? But like John Williams has done like a jungle score. He's also done like jazz. He's also done Star Wars. It's kind of hard to ask him what that is. I think it's a mentality. It's an approach, to writing music. I think you could maybe say like in terms of like an overall genre, clearly classical inspired, symphonic, maybe romantic, whatever, some modern techniques. But again, the more we say different things, the less it's in the box, right?
Yeah.
It's just John Williams, right?
Johnny
So
W.
that's just kind of how I think about things.
JW.
JW. And speaking of, this is something you kind of talked about, but going, back to the vintage stuff, I would kind of like to ask about how that's
Yeah.
like influenced your style today. Because I don't think that I mean, you said this a little bit, but I don't imagine that when you get dressed, you're like, it's like, well, today I'm going to be dressing like it's like 1944 or something. But a lot of times, because you're wearing high-waisted wide leg pants and vintage ties and spear point shirts, which are just things that you like, it ends up
Yeah,
kind of
it just
looking like
happens
that.
looking like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I mean, that happens way more if I'm wearing like a swing tie, which is so rare. But like the one day I'm like, oh, maybe I'll wear like this kind of crazy tie. I'm like, damn, this is pretty. This is pretty
Mhm.
1947 or something.
Yeah. But yeah, do you want to
No,
talk a little bit more
yeah.
about the kind of like influence that vintage had, and maybe like
Yeah.
the education that you get from that?
Yeah, I mean, people can listen to the whole archive, or maybe even my earlier interviews with like Sven, or like the Modest Man, or like I guess the one with the articles style is kind of gone now because they've revamped the site. But yeah, I mean, obviously for people who know, like I really love vintage. I really love Esquire man and 1930s, 1940s clothing. And today, since as like Spencer said, like since it's just an iconic part of my design, my design taste in clothing, things just kind of look like that. I will say I think some days like it does just look more like that because of the tie choice, and maybe like full suits I think tend to maybe look a little bit more period because like it's a whole thing. But like when you have separate, like that's like the kind of the joy of being trad, I guess, is like you just look kind of vintage no matter what. I mean, Ivy in extension was kind of like when I wanted to like have a more modern looks or kind of get the more use out of other stuff. I kind of slipped into Ivy because of that reason. Like it still looks old, it still has these ideas that I like, but maybe it's not too out there. And then I've kind of like come back to like to just doing full fits. I mean, the difference there is just the silhouette in general, obviously. Um, but yeah, vintage. It's just interesting to me because I feel like, especially now where there is no like new culture. I know we've kind of hinted at that conversation a little bit, like we're static culture. And, there's no innovation. Um, but as someone who just like looks to the past for the stuff that I like, it just makes sense to just continually draw inspiration from there, and then maybe back into modern or contemporary things by updating like one item of it,
Mm-hmm.
or doing something with jeans instead. But to that point though, I feel like by sticking with these boxes or these categories I put myself in, and doing it even more instead of blending them completely, I think has been a much more interesting development for my style. I say that because before I would maybe do like Esquire man up top and then wear it with jeans and loafers, and I would say, oh, maybe like this is like Drake's esque, right? But then as I've gotten older now, and kind of like more honed in my style, I wouldn't wear a collar bar with jeans. Like I feel like I'm not that kind of guy. I'm not trying to like to modernize this thing. If I'm gonna wear a collar bar, I'm just gonna go full Esquire man or full
Mm-hmm.
40s or full trad, or Ralph Lauren, whatever that is. And so, but they have vintage. I think maybe now, yeah, it's just even more about like, hey, I'm just gonna do that look now. I'm just going full send, and it just
Yeah.
happens to be it's just more vintage. Um, but yeah, that's kind of how I see it now. I mean, it's always gonna be there. I still look at old photos. I get more inspiration from that than like a picture of Ethan Newton. Even though Ethan Newton's been great, I think I
It's been
definitely
great, folks.
yeah. I mean, yeah, you guys know I wear a time more than ever
Yeah.
after the pandemic, which is crazy because a lot of people have like stopped doing that. So
I mean, one thing that I've always thought was kind of funny is like, like I said, even though you're not consciously doing like, oh, this is like a true vintage, like full, vintage look. A lot of times it still just ends up, yeah, looking like it's like 1939 or something. But at the same time,
yeah,
the way that you interact with and engage with the menswear community is very contemporary, I guess. Like we've talked about the controversial topic of cosplay and Disney bound and stuff like that.
oh yeah,
And I don't
yeah,
think
yeah,
there's
yeah.
really I don't think a lot of other menswear writers or menswear people would like to say that their outfits are either of those things. And then you're like, obviously you're a lot more engaged with like TikTok and stuff like that. So I don't know, like what's
You're asking about
the
social media.
like social media and just like yeah, it's like what do you think I
Well,
don't know, do you think there's a disconnect there, like between it's like, oh, you're dressing very like mid 20th century, but you have a very 21st century way, like of thinking about these
that's
things.
what's funny because like people like Dandy Wellington, like I mean, like they're like I wouldn't say I guess they are influential, they're like figureheads, right? But
Mm-hmm.
they've been famous on Instagram before I even started the blog, right? Like they were big guys, and then now,
For
of course,
you.
they've done stuff. Even that guy, like was it Pinset, right? Nick, is that
Yeah,
Nicholas
yeah,
Pinset, the guy who does the Regency?
not Edwardian
Yeah,
Regency stuff.
yeah. And and I think he's very savvy on TikTok. I think he's really cool. And I think I don't mean this to get a little bit to be a little bit social commentary, but I feel like there is something about like marginalized communities, where like minority communities, like queer people. I know that, and I think Nicholas is queer.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess I'm a cis het guy, but I'm Asian. There is this kind of proclivity for like these group communities to use the internet. I think to find their community and to kind of find a voice, because in real life they don't have that. I'm very privileged. It's not like I went to school in a predominantly Asian area. There wasn't a lot of Filipino people in there. If I went to Glendale, that'd be different,
Mm-hmm.
as MJ knows. But I feel like it just kind of makes sense, and because I don't think that it's just like a generational thing. I think that like I mean, I'm younger. I mean, and Derek Guy, I think, is Asian also. I don't know if he used it in that way. He's maybe a couple, like, maybe like a decade older than me or whatever. But as I've been looking back, and I read that book about fandom or fangirls and how fangirls have shaped the internet, and I know that you guys haven't read it yet because I'm currently in the process of writing. I'm writing this essay in response to it about fandom. People who are listening to this will be able to read it because it'll be out before then. But there's something about the One Direction fandom being like just it's so big, right? It kind of like was a precursor to like K-pop stands, or it kind of came out like right before that all these things happened. And K-pop, One Direction, all this kind of stuff. Fandom is so expansive, and what was interesting about it is even though it is a commercial American thing, maybe not K-pop, but One Direction, the fans of it were everything. Like it wasn't just like white teenagers; it was like adults. It was black people. It was queer people. It kind of defined the idea that a commercialized thing like One Direction is not for white women, just teenagers. It spans across all ages, all cohorts, etc. And so their ability to do that, and of course through the internet, right? One Direction was kind of like at the forefront of Instagram when TikTok was taking off at the beginnings of Tumblr, all that kind of stuff. And so I bring that up because that's kind of how I found out about menswear, through Tumblr. Like in my essay, I talked about how seeing that come up, seeing the Mad Men gifs, seeing like the fan cams essentially of like of George Raft or like Jimmy Stewart that like these like witchy vintage girls would post, like seeing all that come up on my feed in addition to Disney bounding and like my feed is just crazy like fandom stuff. It kind of made menswear feel like a fandom, even though like that's probably not how people would want to see it. Like to me, the way it looked at it, the way it came to me was through fandom and through like very chaotic Tumblr kind of stuff, and then I backed into the whole style forum and Fedora Lounge afterward, because I'm like, okay, well, these blogs that are reposting this stuff, they're also posting other stuff. Where do I find more of this thing? I gotta find this, and then clearly I'm like, okay, well, this is like not my people, to a certain extent, right? Like we're not approaching life the same way, and so of course now that kind of carries over into social media and being again a younger guy, being Asian, who made YouTube vlogs that didn't go anywhere, but they're making silly videos, like just being connected to the internet, I think is such a big thing. And sometimes when I talk to the menswear people, it's like, yeah, some of them are older, so maybe they just didn't have that, but like, in our free time, and I'm sure Spencer, you're like this too, even if you're not Asian, like we spend a lot of time on the internet, and so being able to be, to see the stuff that we like on there would definitely have an effect on us today. And so it's so natural to me. Maybe that makes me more of a Gen Z than a millennial, even though I am born in a millennial sense, but like
it's a younger millennial. You're on the cusp.
Yeah.
The in-between
cusp,
generation, right?
Yeah. And so, and I know because of that, it makes my vocabulary and the way I approach things just to be from that lens. But I know it can't just be me. And I feel like MJ is a good example of that. It's like if it wasn't me, maybe it would have been someone else who would have made these connections. Yeah. But maybe people aren't as obsessive as I am. Because I think there's a lot of Disney bounders who don't like. In my head, I appreciate Disney bounding, but sometimes in my head I'm like, if you like fashion that much, why don't we just keep going? And there's more interesting ways. Well, because like there's a bunch of TikTokers who like dress up like a character in a way that's like a little bit cooler than like just wearing red pants and a black shirt to be Mickey Mouse, But I get it. So it's like if Disney bounding became a thing today as opposed to like 10 years ago with Tumblr, maybe people would like
It'd
it
be different.
more. I don't know. But I love the internet. I use it a lot.
Yeah, I didn't mention Tumblr because I didn't think of it, but I think I don't know. Are there any other menswear guys that were really plugged into the Tumblr fandom community like back in the day?
I don't think so. Yeah, I mean,
think that is a big difference between you and other people. Just that kind of influence coming up.
Because based on when I heard like interviews with Mark Cho or like Ethan Newton, who became Tumblr famous during the #menswear era, they just saw it as a place to like dump their photos. Like they used Tumblr before they used Instagram.
No, yeah, they weren't looking at Super Hulock posts or whatever. They were on fuck yeah menswear.
I mean, it was like like what happened to like like the TikTok. Nowadays TikTok is all like influencer stuff and like but like before it was like it was like Vine. It was chaotic Tumblr but with videos again, and it's so funny. Like I wasn't there for Musical.ly, but I was there at TikTok during the beginning of it, and I would just post. I have it really changed how I post, and I still post my random stuff where like I film Spencer saying something random, and I just upload that random video. Like one of my first TikToks is like we're at Disneyland,
Whoa.
and it's you going up to the Excalibur thing and in front of the merry-go-round, and you're like, guess it don't work, and that went like kind of viral in like 2019. Like it was like maybe like 10,000 views or whatever, but like that stuff we don't have that anymore, and so yeah, I think menswear guys don't really do that. And I think also the fashion people who did start off with Super Hulock ended up doing a little bit more of like fashiony stuff. Like I think that because those people will kind of be maybe a bit more like edgy, like they're kind of like gothy or like punk, and then they get into like Tanner Dean on TikTok, cool guy. He was like a Super Hulock kind of a guy. He went to like a Christian university. He's like a skinny white guy who had Tumblr, and then now he wears like Bodhi and Rick, and it's like it just kind of like that's like the natural progression of like an internet Tumblr guy who gets into fashion. But for me, it kind of just stayed in the menswear.
Well, sorry, but it's like no. I'm blanking on the name, so I apologize. But we have someone in our Discord who is literally like a cosplayer, right? Who like makes their own cosplays, like their own clothes.
He's not in the Discord, but he is. He does follow us, and I think you follow him.
Yeah. I mean, I like his style a lot, and I think that's always something I've been kind of surprised about. Is like, if you are a dedicated cosplayer, it's like you'll probably have a pretty good idea of how clothes should fit your body and stuff like that. You might have practical experience making clothes, which he does. But there's so many.
Sorry, it's Cameron, right?
Cameron, that's right.
Yeah. Cameron.
Thanks, Cam.
I off the top of my head, I only know the handle, but.
Well, thank you for knowing the handle. What is his handle?
Yeah.
Sword of Morrigan.
There you go, Sword of Morrigan.
Yeah.
But anyway, it's like if you're really into cosplay, like chances are you're going to be doing a character that is like a character from the past, like in a period piece or something. And a lot of times I see the cosplayers that just do like 1-to-1 exactly like what the drawing is or whatever. So it's like, but it's like I've always I've thought it's like, why aren't there more cosplayers like this guy who's like, no, I'm gonna figure out like what this character like really would have been wearing in like 19 whatever, and put that together. But anyway, I wonder. It is kind of weird that there's not more people who are into cosplay, which is again such like a practical like clothing thing, and then just like like just fashion, like not even like classic menswear.
I think it's because like if we want to use my theories on like how different people approach things, I feel like cosplay sometimes they just in name only, right?
Yeah,
like
or it's like I guess they think, I don't know. I've seen people. I'm not trying to paint a broad brush and make fun of cosplayers, but I have seen a lot of cosplayers who it seems like it's like an escape. I guess it's like, oh, I'm no longer this person. I'm now whatever character I'm dressed up as, and so maybe it's like, well, I can't do that every day because I'm not a character.
Yeah. I mean, it's all about like, some people like it for the clothes, some people like it for the character. I think that's the whole thing with cosplay. I mean, on that note of like, just going deeper, I'm like, there's sometimes when people like they try and write like John Williams, and not to say that I can't either. I feel like I'm not that good, and I'm not classically trained. But like, just because you use the Force theme doesn't make you John Williams. You know what I mean? Like, there's a whole other techniques that you should be leveraging. Like you can't. It's like you can't put on a tie and be like, well, I'm Ralph Lauren. Like, well, Ralph Lauren has very specific styling. It's not. But yeah. So.
MJ, do you have anything else? I have a couple more questions, but if you want to ask anything else.
Do they segue well from this? Because I feel like the next part might be a little bit of a pivot.
We can change it up. MJ, ask me something.
Yeah.
Well, this is shout outs to Dan. We said at the beginning for his questions help. But if you want to talk a little bit about your expression and how you want other people to perceive you, or if you even want them to perceive you.
Do you want to be perceived?
Yeah. What are you communicating with the clothes you pick? Do you get feedback from it, and if are they right? Good, like is it something that you wanted to hear, or is it completely the other way?
Well, this is something off the dome, guys. I didn't. First off, I didn't really look through these because I wanted to be surprised how
Exactly.
they answered this, how they asked me the questions. But I did, kind of put in some thoughts. Sorry to help MJ and Spencer put in some stuff that I thought would be good to talk about. But this was a really good one. And again, shout out Dan. I think that interview, that blog post he did was really good. Um, Off the dome, I think of it almost like a reference, like a joke that we do. It's kind of like, I mean, people assume that people talk to us. I think maybe that happened a lot more when we were younger, especially like a Dapper Day when Spencer and I were like fucking 18, 19 years old. But i'm I'm 28 now. Oh boy, approaching the grave.
Don't say
But I feel like
that.
now it's like the whole thing with that Jesse Thorne said, like, as the older you get, you're like, you're not a young guy wearing a suit, you're a guy wearing a suit, so
Yeah.
the novelty is
Yeah.
gone. And so I don't actually get a lot of comments, especially not anymore. I think now with when TikTok making fashion super big with Albert and guys like Mark, or I guess not Mark, but like Nolan and all these guys, other TikTok guys making Simon, making classic menswear a little bit more accessible, and the ideas of it kind of proliferate. I'm not interesting anymore. I'm not
I'm not
novel, so people
interesting
don't have
anymore.
to people don't comment on it
Yeah.
as much, or and also it's more accepted to be into fashion, so people don't really
Mm.
ask, oh, why are you so dressed up? It's just, oh, cool fit, which is really great. Um,
Uh-huh.
but in terms of the reference, it's like I think I know that people just think I'm wearing a suit because it's formal. I also think that people can glean that there's a little bit more going on, and so think as like a Scott Ackerman joke, like a setup to a joke. It's almost like if they say some words that I'm like I want them to say, like if they get there, it's like, oh, good, they got it. It's like when I went to an Asian American thing, and it was at it was at a bar. It was not Dave and Buster's, it was the bowling alley below it. But I was up there, and I was wearing, like flared jeans and like it was like my Friday night outfit. Flared jeans, a work shirt, and a my fringe jacket. And I was just like talking to a guy who was ordering. I was ordering nachos, and he was putting away his nachos because he was done. And he's like, "Oh, I love your fit." And I go, and he's like, "Oh yeah, thanks, man." And this guy was wearing like exercise clothing, and he's like not. He's wearing like shorts and a t-shirt. It wasn't like he was a gym guy. It was just a regular guy.
Yeah.
And he says, "Yeah, it looks like you like you're dressed up to like go out." And I'm like,
You
"You
got
said
it.
the magic words, baby. Like that's it."
Yeah.
Where do you think
And
we are,
so
bro?
yeah, I think there's a little bit there about like if someone does comment like publicly, I think that they kind of get something from it. And in that trad conversation in the Discord, like people said, like, oh well, Ethan has a little bit like it seems like a bit more artsy or I mean, and I use the word slouchy a lot, and so I think people do get it. I mean, I think it helps that I have my hands in my pockets all the time. I'm slouching over. I think that kind of help. I'm not like. Have you guys seen that the guy on TikTok? I know that they brought him up in the Nymphet Alumni Dandy episode, but it's like this kid who talks like Frank Sinatra. He's like he must be like a freshman in college, and he's
Uh-huh.
all like, he's like, "Hey guys and gals, here's
Oh, I
here's
think I've
my
seen
my
that.
outfit for the day," and he has like these like affectations, and I think he's a charming kid. I think it's really fun to
He's
see him
so
have fun with his
charming.
outfits, but like. I'm not doing some like I'm not like doing all this stuff.
Hey, hey,
I'm
hey.
just kind of like
I do
I'm
that.
kind of I mean
I'm
I'm
always
kind of
going, hey,
slouching.
hey, hey, hey.
I mean, it's one of those things like I want to act like I'm fading into the background, but I know that that's impossible because I'm like fucking wearing a fedora in a coffee shop. Like I totally
Yeah.
get it,
Yeah.
but it's like like the hope is that it looks. I mean, maybe not the hope, but like I don't want to look like I'm time traveling, but I want that idea to be that like, oh, it's like a ghost. Like he's
A
he's
ghost.
in the place he always was there.
So you want people
like
to get
it's just
scared when they see
Yeah.
you.
I just want people to be like it's just so natural. Like I'm not like I'm not gonna walk up. I mean, I guess a ghost would technically use old slang if he was from that era. So I guess
Yeah.
maybe that's not the right way. But I think that I'm just trying to communicate like I'm just wearing these clothes. You know what I mean? Like this is what I put on today.
Hmm.
This is just what, and it happens to be a suit and tie. I think if people read it as formal, that's cool. But I think over repeated times, the more you get to know me, like a new friend would, you'll know. Okay, well, wow, that wasn't Ethan all dressed up. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Like you'll see me in a suit every day, and then you see me in a tuxedo. Like, oh, so now you're
Yeah.
fancy. Before you were just this, and if people don't get that off the bat, it doesn't mean anything to me. Like it doesn't affect me. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like there's no Like I'm not dating. Like that's kind of like, if I was still single now, looking back, maybe I'd make different choices, or maybe I would curate a little. I don't know. I mean, but it's also like, again, because of fashion, TikTok, and everything. I think I wouldn't have had to do that. And I think next year we're planning on talking about like dating and like date outfits, because I think that's kind of a fun topic that we haven't really talked about, because that's a very external reason to get dressed, or at least the perceptions matter a little bit more on that front. But in terms of like everyday interaction, I'm like totally fine. Me, like, I don't have to worry about someone thinking I'm weird, because I already am weird.
Yeah.
And it's, like, I don't like.
Weird is just
like,
a setting on a. No, it's weird is not a setting on a dry.
How do you want to dry your clothes? More
weird,
more low,
normal.
Or weird? like this sleeve is dry, but this sleeve is not. Like, it's just fucking. There
should be a normal
like,
setting and a weird setting.
That would be the most expensive.
Or like on a dryer.
One ever.
Weird is on a dryer. Actually, it shrinks different parts
exactly.
of the clothes.
So it's like, wait, why is this one sleeve so small?
Yeah.
Oh man.
But I think to kind of go back to some of the other topics that we've talked about is like I feel like not that I don't care what other people think, but I think it's like I just care more that what I'm putting out there now, and I think it's like, if people, I mean, obviously if someone says, "Hey man, you look like shit," of course it's gonna hurt my feelings a little bit. Like, I'm not gonna get sad, but it's I'm not gonna be happy about it, but it's fine. Like, it's totally like it's just cool, and I think that the cool thing about social media is that the more you put out there, I think that, I think a lot of people like try and be different. People like, they have different personas. I think I'm the same on social media. I talk the same way, like I type, like, blog posts look like my captions on Instagram, just longer, or maybe vice versa, and so, like, my thing about it is not, I don't want to be misunderstood. Obviously, I think no one wants to be misunderstood. So the more you put out there, the more clarification you can give other people, And if people don't get it, it's like, well, you just didn't see this, like hey man, catch up on the reading a little bit, Obviously you can't do that to a stranger who does not know you on social media, but yeah, I mean, it's like, why not, like, just it's fine. I mean,
it's
so
fine.
far, if someone was like, I'd never hire that guy, I'm like, okay, that's fine. Like, I'm not, I'm or if an ABG or someone wearing full Rick is like, I would never date that guy wearing a suit. That's fine. Like, it's not the end of the world for me. So, I mean, I'm not single anymore, so maybe my tune would be different if I was actively dating. Please, Rick lady, please.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Rick lady,
that kind of helps answer that.
Rick lady.
That's actually.
I mean, I do pick clothes based on what I'm doing that day, or alternatively, I make my day fit what I'm doing that day. You know what I'm saying? Like, because I mean, do you guys know what you do every day? You don't, right? I feel like, so it's like, I'm like, hey, if I'm like, free this evening, maybe I'll have a cocktail, because I'm wearing, like, if I'm wearing a suit, like, Armani, or like, oh, maybe this feels like a cocktail night. Or if it's like something a little bit cozier, like maybe I get like boba, popcorn. I kind of like, so much of life, we have so much control over our lives. Like, why not just, make stuff happen, And again, I'm very privileged to work from home in that regard, but that's one of the things too. It's like, I try not to be out of place, because I have the ability to make myself not out of place, I'm not going to go I'm never like, hey, I'm going to go to the gym, but I'm going to wear my suit, like, that's not, I can say no, or I can change, or I can go tomorrow, man. Like, come on.
There's so many things you can do.
Yeah.
I like, I like that. I feel like I think I kind of go the opposite way, where it's like, I try to, it's not that it's like, oh, I always know what I'm doing, but if I do know one thing I'm doing, I dress for that. But I think, as I've said before, I like, I was a Boy Scout. I'm always being prepared. So I like just wearing kind of good, like, all around, this could do anything kind of outfits.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like...
I mean, we do that, I feel like, to an extent.
Yeah. I was going to say that I feel like the three of us, even with, like, how fashion-y we are, we make the whole closet work anyways. Like, Ethan wears tuxedo just out, so it's like...
To be fair, I'll do it to an event too. I'm not gonna wear it during the daytime. I try not, like, I'm not that crazy. Okay?
Yeah, but you'll wear it to, like...
Oh,
to,
yeah,
to, like, just hang out Like, I mean,
Yeah.
like we're hanging out like at somewhere. But,
Afterward, yeah. It's still. There's always a reason, right? I'm not wearing a tuxedo just to get boba. Like, to be clear to people listening, I'm not crazy.
Yeah. I'm saying,
I'm
like,
not
if
crazy.
you know the lore, it all makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know we did a whole next. I know we did a whole episode on
Next.
on trends. But do you want to talk a little bit more about? Just get into like
My relationship
briefly,
with trends?
how you deal with trends, because I will say, as we talked about in the episode, we both are susceptible, I guess. But I also think that
it's about influence, right? It's about like where you get something that you haven't done before.
But I think you do kind of have, I don't know if it's contrarian tendencies, but I feel like you don't like being like everyone else, I guess.
Yeah, I think that's I mean, the thing that always comes up here is that I if everyone was dressing like me, I do wonder if I would make different changes. But the thing is, I truly feel like people don't.
Yeah.
I think that some of my outfits, I think there's something similar there. Like I think, like the rugged ivy, or I mean, I guess like wearing merch with like a flared jeans. I feel like that makes sense. But like sometimes that is me trying to be contemporary. You know what I mean? Like I think that like that's me wanting to do something that kind of fits in, but in my own way. Like I'm wearing my band T-shirts, my John Williams, my Star Wars tees, instead of, I don't know, like a Megadeth T-shirt or like a fucking, or wearing I don't know, like a Grateful Dead tee. Like I want to do my way of doing it, but like with tailoring, it's still like, yeah, people still don't dress like me. Like people, like, yeah, there's long collars, but people are wearing it with like solid knit ties and like tonal suits, as opposed to like a check jacket with a collar, like, what I mean? And the closest thing we have maybe is like Ralph or period dressers.
Mm-hmm.
And I find more camaraderie with that, but that's not really what regular people tend to wear. It's not really trending in that sense. But I think I'm definitely, as we talked about, susceptible to trends. I think I like leveraging them when I want to be more contemporary, when I want to take a break from Esquire Man, but it's also my way of connecting with the world. And but a lot of it is kind of just our stuff coming back around. Yeah. I feel like, like a wide leg pants,
wide leg and high rise coming back.
That's right, it's in.
We've been right this whole time.
Yeah, but then the thing is, when people do it,
curve, right?
Yeah,
they wear it with wife pleasers, ribbed tanks and like a trucker hat. So it's like, even then they're still not doing it. So like, I'm not gonna just pivot my own style just to fit that, just because my pants are like.
Yeah.
I'm not into this just because of the trend. I'm into this because of the whole damn look of the Esquire Man, or specifically the spear point collars with the extended jacket, etc. All of these design details that make the whole. It's not just about one thing. I still haven't gotten the whole thing of, oh man, you look like you read Edgy Albert or whatever. Like, that hasn't happened to me yet, because I think my style is different enough to like. So for people to know, okay, he's either always been doing that, or he's doing something totally different.
Yeah.
But again, like we said in the trend episode, I don't hate trends. I think I enjoy them more now because it's just closer to what I actually wear, and so it's not really a big deal. It's just more like, oh hey, I do that, or hey, that seems close to me. Like, I think I definitely started wearing my merch T-shirts more, or started collecting them the more I saw merch people wear them, because I wanted to be like, hey, you know what? I like Star Wars and I want to wear it. But then I was like, well, it's also got to be good merch. And, we got to thank Uniqlo. Shout out Uniqlo for some good merch T-shirts that are not... Why is it that you... I mean, it makes sense. Fashion brand versus Target. Brand. Or like at like Disneyland, where like the T-shirts, the Star Wars T-shirts at Disneyland are like the worst Star Wars T-shirts, or the worst T-shirts of all time. Well, but like, at least when you have like a
Disneyfication of Star Wars,
or like Hot Topic shirts, they're better.
The other thing about like T-shirts at like Disneyland, or like fucking like any theme park, or like merch place or whatever, is it's like, it feels like it's made of fucking like crepe paper. It's just like,
well, it's because it's all that heathered cotton or whatever.
I mean, sometimes it's not even full cotton. It's like 80-20, or like
it's
gross. A blend, so it's like bad.
Really quick, I don't know if this is kind of a diversion or tangent, but I figure we can spend the next like
from the Divergent series
15-20 minutes talking about your future. But really quick, going back to like social media and TikTok, the other online fashion community that I've been seeing a lot more of recently, that I I don't know. I don't think we have much in common with, but I'm kind of curious if you've seen it and if you have any thoughts on this. Are the people that are really into designers and like couture stuff, and I'm not saying anything bad about these people. I'm just again saying that I don't think this is how we think. But it's like you see the videos of them looking at like runways and they're naming every designer and year.
I think I've seen a couple of that. That's kind of crazy, actually.
Yeah. Do you think you have it? Do you think you have anything in common with that kind of like? I don't like what it's like. Just obsessive.
I mean,
like like I need to know
yeah.
the every designer and stuff like that. I don't know.
I mean, this is like we're not like this, right? Like I think give all credit for like to like Mark Chevalier and everything, who is able to kind of do this with vintage designers, right? With like, oh, that's a Sulka, that's a Oviats or whatever. I know I'm not into it that far, because it's not about designers, right? It's not about like, oh, I need every Macintosh suit from this era. I need every Palm Beach tie that exists. I was about to say that, by the way. I just got a video about that. But I do think, I mean, we have our own version of that, where it's like, I mean, who else during movies is like going to be like, that's a belt back, or like that's a look at that spear point, right? Like I think we do have that, but like I think like with my writing lately has been about expression. I think I've been trying to just hint at like we're just gathering the vibes basically, right? Like we're and like aesthetic designs as opposed to a certain designer. I think if we had backed into menswear, which a lot of people kind of do from streetwear, from designer clothing, I think it would make sense. Like, oh, I want the Ralph fall 1997 jacket, or even now, I think in our Discord, a guy was like, hey, how do I find this like Spear McKay jacket from 2017? I'm like, or I don't know, like that's like just find another brown jacket, bro. Like just
it's easy,
But it's like it's just interesting to me because and this is why I like the Disney bound connotation, because it's about just creating that character. Like you don't know what specific pants Mickey Mouse is wearing. You got to find your own red pants to do this, right? And so, but you'll also know that Mickey Mouse has like gold buttons on his pants, so you can't just wear any, right? So it's about the design of that particular thing. And I think maybe the reason why people get hyper fixated on the designer is because sometimes in that realm, that designer made that one thing that you can't get anywhere else. So I get that. And maybe for us, because it's menswear, it's a bit more general. So it's like, if only one company made the rolling bell curve looking, bell shape, not bell curve, OCBD, maybe we'd be like, oh, that's the Brooks, like, I mean, people do this, like, oh, that's a Brooks 80s one, not a Brooks 2000s one, so we do kind of do that. Yeah,
there's just no online game, there's no like fashion runway guesser for classic men's.
There is a game where you have to guess the year of the photo when it was taken. I think
we should do that. We should do that.
That's a stream. That's a good one.
I feel like I could do that.
I think that we would be so
we should
good
stream
at
that tonight.
Oh wait, well your computer sucks. We can't.
I have a laptop.
Yeah, we could all do that.
Do it until it crashes.
Yeah,
man.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, we could all be on camera. We could do Kai Cenat
stuff. I don't have 3 chairs. Also, my room is very small.
Yeah. Also Spencer's like camera angle has to
be we're not going to be able to
if you guys were here, we could have done it.
Yeah, but we're not. Anyway, something I thought of while you were talking that I want to ask before we kind of get, like I said, to the last closing questions, if you think that we're the last like 10-15 minutes. So, a lot of times for the topics for your blogs or the topics for episodes, and something kind of hinted at in your answer to the last question, you look, you're reading books on artists, musicians, like painters, all this stuff, like artist communities. So would you consider, like, would you consider the way you dress to be an art form? Do you consider yourself an artist of clothes?
Yeah, I mean, that sounds like the most pretentious thing. My art is making outfits.
Yeah.
Okay, and I will say, I know that people have rightfully have ribbed me on it because I do think it's such a silly thing. But, the thing with online culture now, and the discourse about clothing, is that people do recognize it as some kind of personal form of creativity. And so it's like I do find some camaraderie with that. These ideas didn't just come out of nowhere. Like I wasn't like, you know what? I dressed like, I think dressing is like an art. I think it just came with me being on the internet and being around people and finding camaraderie with people who approach clothing for fun, because classic menswear communities don't do that.
Yeah.
Like everything is like, oh, I can't wear that to work, or hey, that's not appropriate for a corporate lunch or a cocktail with my wife. And it's like, yeah, but I'm seeing these people who are who are wearing archive stuff or making their own clothing, which I think is really cool, and they're also out there having fun. I'm like, so I have more in common with those people, at least in terms of approach, and they think of it as like kind of like this personal creativity thing. It just makes sense for me to do that. But if I'm gonna continue to write about clothing and how I think about things, it just makes sense to kind of go a step further and think about how artists think about what they're doing. Because when I read that book, The Photograph is to How to Die, means how to die, they talk about just the aesthetic object. I think that was I mean, it's an equally pretentious term, but I think it just makes sense as something that you just create, something that you put something into that has a point of view.
Mm-hmm.
And and he was comparing how photography can be related to poetry in a sense. Although poetry is very transformative, it is world building because you are creating something out of nothing. Whereas photography, it's like you're limited, but you're still creating something that doesn't exist. You're still archiving or putting together a point of view with the tools that you have. And so if we think about photography as just being like a more narrow version or a narrow companion form of poetry, I do think if we keep going further, clothing is on that spectrum somewhere. It's a spectrum. I don't think it's right to say that is art, that is not, because I feel like like doing an impression. I feel like that's kind of like a fun creative thing. It's how to use your existing voice to mimic other voices or to make characters. I think voice acting is a fun thing.
Yeah.
And so. And people should know I love voice acting. When I was younger, I do a lot of impressions, or I did a lot of them. We have every blog. There's a silly voice that we all do here.
We love silly voices.
And so again, if we're just continuing that, it just like, to me, it just makes sense. I would never say like like, I don't think an outfit of mine is gonna be in the Louvre or anything like that. Like I don't think. Yeah. But it's about like when I look back, like I think of it as like like folk art or like amateur art, or like people like the arts and crafts movement, or people in like the 40s and 50s who would just like paint, like Sunday painters, right? I think that's a term. People who like and I think that, and they hang it in their house, right? And you put your kids' drawing on your fridge. My fridge is Instagram, and my drawings are my outfits.
Is Instagram. That's where I get my food.
And this is why like I think this is why custom to me is so important, because I think it's cool to give yourself over into what a designer wants or whatever. I think that is a cool thing to relegate yourself to. That is not my personality. And if we are thinking about these things as, again, my little doodle that I'm hanging in my room, which I do with my paintings around here, I think that me working with Dave and basically telling him, hey, I want an inch here, basically dictating to him what I want, and he just fills out the order for him. Not to say that Dave does nothing, but I feel like I'm the one who says some stuff, like
he actualizes
it's a collaborative
your
process.
Vision.
Yeah, and he tells me, hey, no, you can't do that, or hey, that might be weird, and tells me what could happen.
Life,
yeah. But I mean, being able to be in that process of explaining things, that's the way for me to feel connected to my clothes. So there is a part of me in the pieces of the clothing. You know what I'm saying? Like it's like I want to be there, and maybe that's just me. If you talk about the future, like I still don't think I would ever design my own clothing, but it would be cool to like help draft the pattern or something, or but my taste isn't that crazy. Like I'm not here to reinvent how a lapel works, but to be able to say, hey, I want to do this. And I think we should increase here. I think we should put, if possible, pitch these forward. I think having the back rise be here. Having that part of me in the clothing in some way, even if it's like 10% and the rest of it is the other tailor, that's more than just taking it as it is. And that makes me tied to the clothing, and it makes me tied to the outfit that I make with it, because it's all considered. And so... and Ascot Cheng, right, helping design my spear point collar, tracing an existing collar, then making adjustments to it and how it's splayed out. I think that's really, it's a way to just kind of make it more like an aesthetic object. Maybe again, it's not art. It's like a doodle. It's like like I didn't make Darth Vader. I didn't design Darth Vader, but I'm gonna draw him with an Ewok on my little paper in college. And that's fun to me. Yeah. And I think I would do outfits like that way. So. Again, reading about artists, reading about expression, reading about music, especially because I like writing music. Again, I'm not I'm not inventing new harmonies, but it's just me having some fun here. It just makes sense to relegate it to how artists talk and how to analyze art, because there is something that you can apply that is more about vibes, that is more about the aesthetic whole, instead of just, oh, you can't wear a grenadine tie with a tweed jacket because grenadine is a fancier silk than tweed, and you would be better off with a knit tie or a wool tie. Like that's about formality. That's not about what everything looks like. I mean, it does play a little bit into that, but it's not like, you know, what's the slouchiness of it? What's the expression? Is it happy or sad?
Mm-hmm.
And hey, again, I mean, I guess that would make sense, right? Like a shiny black tie with like an oatmeal tweed jacket might not work, but I'm sure there is something you could actually glean from that. But I want to I want to talk about menswear more than just corporate attire, interview attire, funeral attire, and marriage. The things that every man will have to go through at least once in their lives, and once at the end.
Yeah, that's right. I'm gonna get married
In
right
that
at
order.
right at the end of my life. That's the last thing I'm gonna do. I keep thinking of other follow-up questions, but really quick, I don't know if this is actually going to be a quick one, but I think a big through line in all your stuff and basically every episode from the last, I don't fucking know how long, but like is just community and having friends and having like a menswear, like having a menswear community. So do you want to get into a little bit more about why you view that as such an important thing?
I mean, it to me, it's proof that you don't exist in a vacuum, right? I that's my way of kind of, to kind of address the critique that we're like, oh well, Ethan, you can't actually wear that out. Like, well, yeah, I can, like, and like, oh, well, then yeah, everyone will hate you. I'm like, well, no, they don't, because I have friends. You know what I mean? Like, it's just like it's a good defense, and I think that having friends is the kind of the only way to feel like, what you're doing is right, not just socially but just internally too, right? Like it is tough if you don't have that early on. It can make you feel like you're doing something wrong, that you're too weird. And I know it definitely felt that way, maybe not because of teasing, just by default, where like none of my friends are dressed. There's a picture I shared recently, like last night when I was uploading stuff. I found this picture of me wearing a fedora and a sports shirt. And it's like Scott's in the photo, MJ is there, but this is this is like 2017. This is like MJ wearing a
Dragon Ball shirt.
Dragon Ball shirt. And so it's like, it does take a little bit of personal gumption to kind of get over that. But once you have the friends who kind of accept it, and once you realize that it's not that big of a deal, again, friendship depending, it just makes everything easier, And this is, if we get to a stage in the world where we can all work from home, where we have, we've progressed enough to, have a 4-day work week, etc. The context you have is going to be your community. It is going to be your friends. And so thinking about that and how you dress is going to be like that future and how you make these decisions. And again, being blessed to have a positive friend group, both online and outside of it, has really helped me kind of become the person I am today. And I truly think that's how it is for other people. I think like if MJ and I weren't friends and he read my blog, maybe MJ might not have been able to do some of the stuff that he's been able to do, or like Spencer, if you didn't have Jay, right, or some kind of pal that you were just, I definitely think that we all would have had a very different progression. I don't even think of it, it's just in terms of like being bold. I think that maybe we would have been, but we would have just been the weird guys. But I think having some of the bounce ideas off of and continue to progress and grow is something that community does. That's why forums exist. That's why, I share outfits, and I think that my outfits have just gotten better over time. Because if I didn't have friends and I just was like narcissistic, maybe I still would have worn like an H&M suit with an H&M shirt and tie and assumed I would have just been Gatsby. But like, no, being able to kind of, again, to put your ideas into a soup of community and just kind of like, have it grow and learn, I think is really important. And so, it just makes sense to find ways to make that happen. And I try and make inclusive spaces, where that happens, and to canonize friends, obviously Win and Michael from our Discord. These people have become like, IRL friends where we can just hang out and have a good excuse to wear outfits, and I know that some of them will maybe dress up more when they hang out with me, because of just that they feel safer, or they know that it can't possibly be as crazy as the guy wearing a three-piece. I don't wear a three-piece suit, but like a collar bar and a fedora, they possibly can't be that weird. But the hope is that they translate that until they feel okay with their friends, and then maybe their friends get into it, or even if they don't, like they just have this wholesome thing. Because I know that my friend group, both menswear and without it, just it's a very important part that helps secure me in my own style.
It's just better.
It's just better, yeah. And I think you can't, and it's okay if you don't want to do that. If you don't want to find a community, I think it's fine. But I think you might find it just harder to feel secure, or you'll start to have different outfits for different things, which I think is a waste of money. Or it just makes you feel a little bit of an identity crisis. Like, okay, which one is the real you? When is the real you able to come out? And if you have a good community, if whether that's with it, like I think it's different. One of the reasons why I don't want to move to New York is because I feel like then my circles would just be the menswear industry, and I feel like nothing wrong with that, but I kind of want regular people too. Like I don't, and I think it's because then the excuse is, oh, you guys all just work in it, and I feel like I don't want that. I want this to be a source of agency for me. I want this to be fun. And what better way to emphasize that by wearing a suit to get coffee or to get boba, and where no one else around you is doing that, even your friends, but you're still friends. I feel like that just proves the fact that this is all just a personal expression thing. This is all just for fun,
Nice.
Okay. We love fun.
Yeah. Spencer, do you have any?
I think we can get to the last section now if we wanted to. Yeah.
Oh, MJ, yeah.
Well, I guess this is more like a semi rapid fire ending segment. Do you want to address your influencer status on the internet?
No.
Address the allegations.
Can you either confirm that? No, I think I think it's very clear I tie influence to money, just because that is what the job was made for. Like the whole influencers were a cohort on Instagram and social media because of the way that they could make other people do things that brands could monetize on. Like they were when we look at the innovation path, right? Like we talked about like early adopters and latecomers or whatever, and the breakthrough of marketing was to be able to hit the early adopters and key thought leaders at the get-go to kind of speed up the adoption process in order to maximize profits, right? Like brands no longer had to just wait for something to maybe catch into the mainstream. You could make that happen by paying for it. And so because I think I'm a pretty good business guy. I mean we lose money on the podcast, but that's by design.
Yeah.
Okay,
we're just having fun.
Technically I'm the one who loses money on it, but yeah, it's like I think I'm a pretty good student of business. I understand how things work, and so I'm also very familiar with the space because I would see it early, like on Tumblr, on paid reviews, and Spencer's talked about how like when a tweet goes viral, the guy can be paid to like make his pin or the top tweet, his response be a sponsored thing, right? And so like to be put into that same category is not good for me, because it's just kind of, in essence, a slap in the face, because I want this to be purely for fun. And so the more I can distance myself from any kind of monetary gain, apart from like a gift from a good brand. I mean, I'm not gonna say no to free things as long as it's very clear. I'm not required to post it. I separate that because I just think it's two different things. And I in terms of just overall stuff, I mean, I feel like just because you have followers doesn't make you an influencer. I think unless we talk about things in terms of like you just have a platform, then yeah, I think I do have a platform. I think that's clear. But influencing stuff to have a call to action, to have a tangible metric, that you can, your conversion rates. I don't have that. Baby. I think if I was interested in that, I mean, there's plenty of ways to monetize. You could, force people to sign up on an email list when you go into the blog before they read anything else. That way we can have a list of emails that we can send and sell off to advertisers. I don't do that. I don't want to do that. I don't see my followers as something to monetize off of. I don't see them as people to potentially pitch a product to. If anything, I want people to think about things in a certain way that makes them anti that, I mean, I want people to be skeptical of things, I want people to be like, well, a beret is stupid. Well, yeah, tell me why you think it's stupid. Then it's fine.
Yeah,
Don't just don't.
dipshit.
Yeah, but if you think about it and you like it, that's fine by me. I mean, I think the more Ethan you are, the less you buy from brands, and the more certain vintage dealers will hate you because you don't buy anything from them.
That's right.
You know, and like that's the whole thing where you go, I don't actually need this. That's the real way to think about stuff.
It's a real
Don't buy a $200 tie from Drake's. Please don't, because if you're really like me, you'll find them on eBay. You know, you'll find value in the thrifting.
Yeah.
And something that I want people. I mean, this is something I haven't written about. And maybe we'll talk about this in a future episode. Is the seeing the potential in items. Like, like when I see a garment, like whatever, I'll be like, some people will be like, oh, the sleeves don't fit, or the trouser looks like this, or but when I see something that I like, I know, okay, I know what it'll look like post tailoring. I know how it's going to fit into my wardrobe exactly. I don't buy it with outfits in mind. It's more so that the outfits are just coming to me from seeing this. It's like right there, and so I want people to believe that, and I want people to kind of be super intentional with this. And if that is what I want, if that is the product, then sure, if someone could tell me how to monetize that, go ahead.
Yeah.
But I don't think that I think one thing someone said to me is, if I was a style coach or some kind of like empowerment guy, maybe like that might be like the closest thing that can monetize to. But I hate those people, and I could not do it. At the very least, it just seems like I don't think I could have what are basically therapy sessions with each person, and then coach them into finding out why that they are a cool person, why that they have some kind of like creative spark inside them, and why they can leverage it. I can't do that with everybody, and I don't have the patience to do that. The closest I have is just listen to the podcast, get the lore, and that's it. But just, yeah.
Really quick, I do really wish that Instagram worked. Like, if you had a post that got a ton of likes, you would get someone messaging you to put something under your post, and then so it's like you have a fit pic, and then the next comment is like, fellas, get your dick sucked with this dick sucking machine or whatever.
You could technically, you could pin a comment on Instagram.
You can, but no one's offering $100 to advertise the dick sucking machine on Instagram.
Yeah, sorry, that's right. Please send me that.
There's no like what is it like? Is it based on views now or engagements on Twitter?
Yeah,
I
don't know.
They're just
Dude,
like
they fucked up my job, man.
Yeah.
They really did.
You touched on it a little bit before, but the effect or relationship of your hobbies, connecting it to your style, namely books.
Yeah, I mean, I hate getting epiphanies from books because I feel like it's like I'm compelled to write. I was telling Isabel, she's like, why can't you just don't write? I'm like, but I can't, because I got this cool thought, and yeah, I mean, the cool thing about all these books that are about music, that are about art, is like it makes me go, wow, I think about menswear like that. Like that's kind of just how it works for me. It is like they've done the hard work, and I'm just connecting it, to this thing that I enjoy. But I mean, I definitely think everything's kind of connected, right? Like I don't think that you can taste in itself, to me, as we've discussed, is like it's about curation, and curation is tied to your personal identity and everything like that. There is something that you can glean from any kind of aesthetic or music or whatever. It says something about you, or it says something about how you want to be talked about, or that you want to say. And so, just all these hobbies just kind of make sense to me, because all of these stuff, again, whether it's writing or doing photography or writing music, it is some kind of point of view. Mm-hmm. And so reading about that just kind of makes sense, and it just makes me get deeper and deeper. And to kind of talk about the future a little bit, is like I think that's why my style is it's a lot more consistent now. I think that there's a lot of stuff that when we talked about in the trends episode, the things that we've kind of like shed a little bit. I think I've kind of gotten rid of like the middle of my style. Like there is, like I said, like I don't really do, I'm gonna do escort man on top with jeans on bottom. I'm not gonna wear a collar bar with jeans. I'm gonna go full send, and then now I just wear a suit all the time. The things I don't wear, even more now, is t-shirts and jeans. Like those are the things I just don't wear. I'm wearing trousers, I'm wearing loafers. I'm not really wearing sneakers. I'm not wearing casual jackets. I'm wearing sport coats, and So the more I dive deeper into my own hobbies, like, oh, I don't really need to, like, I genuinely enjoy writing like a film score. I'm not gonna try and do some crazy esoteric. I tried it once. I'm like, I don't like what it makes
I
me
hate
sound. It's
this.
crazy.
Yeah.
Like, but it's like with tailoring, it's the same way. I'm like, I know what I like now, and so my belief going forward is I think it really is gonna be this.
Hmm.
That is so like naive to say at 28 years old, but I definitely believe that, and
But I
maybe in
also
another
feel like you
five
could say
years
that
we'll get
maybe,
there.
but there's a lot of people that just kind of dress the way that they did at 28, like forever.
That is
um,
Yeah.
true.
but I also feel like those people aren't like deeply into fashion. That might be the difference, I guess.
Yeah, they just wear like skinny jeans and whatever, right? Like
Yeah.
that's just how. And I mean, yeah, I mean that's the whole goal. I mean, I know that a lot of these Ivy guys love and menswear guys post like these old men in the street in New York, and I want to be that. And if anyone ever was like, "Hey, did you always dress like that?" I'd be like, "Yes, I did. Here it is." You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like
Here's the
it's like,
proof, bitch.
yeah, I call it cultural patina. You want to show that your taste has just aged with you, and that you've had
Hmm.
this for a long
Cultural
time.
patina.
Yeah, have I? I
Yeah.
don't know if I've said that before.
I don't know if
I've
you've talked
tried
about that
to.
either.
I that's something I believe in after
Yeah.
reading
Now it's
W. David
canonized.
Marks. It's
Hmm.
canon. Yeah, at the end of the year, come on, crazy. Um,
Perfect.
but yeah, I want to be like I like that idea. This is why I want to keep my clothes as long as possible. This is why I want the longest part of my day, or the clothes I wear for the longest part of my day to be my outfit. That's why I am so sad. Like I skip working out because it's like I don't want to dress up until I've worked out because I need to shower. It
Yeah.
doesn't make sense for me to wear an outfit for like 2 hours and then change to go to the gym. I'm like, I'm gonna wear this outfit for as long as the day is possible within reason. And I want to do that because I want my clothes to age with me. I want to break into my clothes. I want to be seen wearing my clothes. I want to see myself wearing these clothes
Yeah.
because I want it like this is what I look like. I wear pajamas and then I
This is
wear
me.
this and then I wear gym clothes. But it's like I want that cultural patina. I want to be that old man. I want to be that old man right now.
Hmm.
You know,
I want to be old.
and
Make me
I guess it makes
old.
me sad because it's like when people when we talk about like outfit repeating, it's like yeah maybe the outfit's new, but the point is, hey, you've worn that tie with a bunch of different fits before. That's really cool that you've kept this tie for that long, or those shoes, or that jacket, or those pants. Like to me, it's like look at how much life I've given these garments that I've had for
Yeah.
a long time. And I guess I didn't think about that earlier. That's a little off the dome thing, but like that's whenever we talk about outfit repeating, it's like we're missing the whole point here. We're missing the like look at how cool this stuff is. And so that's going to the future. I think that's just what I want. And I even though it's kind of funnily enough, like I think I'm more trend aware and more trend invoking now with the merch t-shirts that I've had, for since Uniqlo first had their Star Wars collab, or when I first got like a Star Wars, the Japanese poster that I got from a Hot Topic, that t-shirt, which I still own since college.
Yeah.
It's like even though like there are things that are more contemporary, I first off I do think it's because the contemporary has caught up with me, and or with us, I should say. And but what's funny is I think when we look at like my younger stuff, it's like Drake. It still feels like a young guy, right? Like trying to be like, oh, I gotta wear this fun tie, the check jacket, but I'll wear it with jeans so I can fit in a little bit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I gotta. And even though I thought that was pretty mature, and I still do some Drake's looks, very seldomly, like jeans and a sport coat for very Ivy stuff. I want to be the old guy. I want to be the guy wearing this stuff, but I want to be that guy right now. And so just recognizing that I've had comfort and figuring out what I want to do, and tying that. I know we didn't get a chance to talk about this too much because I know we want to wrap up, but tying that to the fact that I am in my career now for 3 years, right? I am
Hmm.
at an agency. I can say I work in marketing. Like it's crazy to me that I've gotten to that age, getting to my late 20s. I have a girlfriend. I still live with my dad. That's because it's expensive. I can't afford a house. And having a bad car accident makes your insurance rates go up. That take
Yeah.
out a lot of money from your bank account.
Ouch.
I'm waiting for when it was like 3 or 5 years when you get to when your accident is taken off the record or whatever. I'm
Yeah.
waiting for that moment. Um, but yeah, I think that but being a stable part of life, having like finding the friends that you see regularly now, like I remember working at Ascot Chang, even though it was great, being working so far and not seeing friends, especially also because some of you guys were still in college at the time too, right?
Hmm.
And so, but having a stable life just kind of results in having a stable style. And if we think about like me going back to what I liked, back to sending up the 30s, sending up making sure that my custom suits weren't just, oh, I'm gonna have it be in the middle, Indochino, trying to make it high waisted, but slimming it a little bit. Like no, like just full sending it. I want, hey Dave, I want 10-inch hems on these bad boys.
Yeah.
I want wide soft shoulder. Like I just getting to realize that comfort, that person that you always thought that you wanted to be, that you no longer have to make concessions for, is now. I think I'm finally able to do that. Like this next phase of my life, and maybe not next phase. I mean, again, I've been here for 3 years, but being able to kind of just fully get there, and to be reinforced in the fact that my boss, my CEO, is like, oh, there's Ethan in a suit, like, and it's fine. Like that's just like there's no apprehension involved at all. I think that's proof, and I think that now, if we ever think about the blog or the podcast stopping, I think it's because I'm having all these epiphanies now where I'm like, what, I think this is it. This is, and I'm gonna dress this way forever as long as I can fit into these damn jackets and these damn pants that don't go to MJ. Because I don't want to be the old guy with new clothes. I want to be the guy who's like, I've had this forever, but I can't have it forever if my body changes. Like that's the saddest.
That is the
saddest part. I want to be King Charles with like patched up shoes, man.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's so cool. I have like an OCBD that I put like fucking like chambray in the elbows because I fucking blew those guys out. I did a little bit of a
little wink there.
Hey.
A little wink.
Yeah.
Hey. Yeah. I want to get there, and and I think everyone else should want to get there. I think you guys also want to get there.
Yeah, I like having
just
clothes,
having your clothes.
Yeah, forever.
And
and I think that's the real thing. And I think if the first phase of until this point has been about writing about these things that I feel like I've always had camaraderie with, like berets, like with white socks, and now that the phase of discovery is done, it's just about wearing them, and what epiphanies come from, and insights you get from just wearing your clothes, from the people that you meet. It inherently becomes a little bit more cultural if you're not just buying new clothes, right? Like that's what else is there to talk about? I don't want the blog and podcast to end. Maybe then it'll probably just end up being us talking about movies. It'll be the next phase.
Talking about movies.
Yeah, it'll just be us reacting to content, which I've always just kind of wanted. I mean, I feel like it's just to just exist and just kind of make something that we just enjoy.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, all of this is just me never going to film school and becoming and going and being a film composer. Like this is all just my way of putting something out there that has a point of view. So that's
we all
all
just want to make. We all want to be picture makers here.
That's right.
The moving
Show me the
pictures.
picture. Any like last final like rapid fire stuff?
Well, I was gonna ask you, unless Spencer has.
Well, I don't know. I feel like we're probably going to ask very similar questions because if we're in the rapid fire section.
Yeah. Well, I was just gonna go straight to the end here with any ending lessons, thoughts, messages, Ethan, you wanted to like put out there.
I feel like I kind of said it. I feel like
I feel
wearing
like
your clothes
in some capacity you've said it all with a lot of words already, but
wear your clothes, have fun with it. Make friends,
folks. Just
have
fun
friends, and just go out. And if you think it's too crazy, you should wear that piece actually, and you'll probably find out it's not crazy at all. Like I can't believe as a kid normal. I'd be like, I'm like, damn, like, oh, could I wear like this collar bar with this crazy long collar and this double breasted? And now it's like, I'm gonna wear a red dinner jacket with opera pumps to watch the Firebird. You know what I mean? I'm gonna wear a kimono jacket with like with fisherman sandals. Like there's crazier stuff to do nowadays, Spencer?
I was just gonna ask like anything you're currently thinking about buying.
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah. I just had a whole speech about I don't want to buy anymore. I just want to wear it.
Yeah. Just what do you actually want?
The camera's off now. Now just be a regular consumer. Just spend money. No, I feel like I thought every time I thought things were over, right? But like getting the patterned, like the Prince of Wales suit from Fugue, I was like, damn, I want a brown one now. I want a brown plaid suit. I want a houndstooth suit. I think honestly, more suits. I think is just it because I love. It's so easy. I mean, not to be like menswear pilled, but like when you wear a suit, your pants and jacket choice are taken immediately. I don't have to be like, oh, like does navy go with this jacket? And again, talk about how these are like second decisions.
Yeah.
But it's still like, it's still kind of like, it's still something I do put some thought of, like, does this go? But like with a suit, just pick your shirt and tie.
It's just right there.
But yeah, I think suits replacing, this is the thing. You want to talk about wearing your clothes? Well, it's not a new thing, but I think I need to replace my purple corduroy suit because I can't fit my arms into those sleeves anymore. If you guys have watched our stream with about the GQ stream, which is 2 months ago when this is released, but
for us, days ago,
I saw that. Yeah, I saw that photo of Bruce Boyer in like a khaki linen single-breasted suit. I'm like, fuck. I was like, okay, I sold my suit to Jane. Hey, maybe I don't need a khaki single-breasted suit because I couldn't fit into it, and maybe now I can just focus on what I own.
Yeah.
But I think in my head, I am a guy who wears a khaki single-breasted suit, and that is an old man wearing it. That's gonna be me. So I think nowadays, I think it really is just gonna be about replacing things I already own. I don't think it's gonna be about trying new things. I as crazy, again, as naive as that sounds, I don't think it's gonna be about like, oh, there's this cool crazy tunic shirt that Visfim makes that, maybe if I thrifted it, sure. I think thrifting is still a gateway to like trying new stuff, but hey, I'm still replacing a lot of shirts that I've gotten from Ascot Chang or whatever. Well, not those ones yet, but although I wore one recently and it's still tough. MJ might be getting a really good bespoke made a spear point collar shirt. But I've been buying point collar shirts, Dobby stripe shirts that I kind of had early on, just in the size that I can actually wear it because my sleeves can fit into it. And even buying the things I've never owned before, like I got my gray fedora, and so like I literally don't need any other color fedora. Like I have black, brown, silver belly, gray. What else? What else is there? There's not really much new, so I think whatever is going to be new to me will be replacements of stuff that I throw out of. Yeah, so yeah. Remember that show? Yeah. That's just it. I mean, again, I don't know. I don't think there's going to be anything that's super crazy. Mm-hmm. Maybe a flared suit. Maybe, I don't know. I don't know if that's the thing. I think a flared suit would be cool, but it's not high on my list. But hey, maybe in a couple of years once I have all the other stuff. But that's right. I feel like I still wear cowboy boots with my wide legs, and they still look like they're flared, kind of. So it's fine.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know, MJ, did you have anything else? I think
that'll do it for me.
That's do it,
baby.
I hope you guys enjoyed this deep dive onto Ethan style.
Deep dive.
Yeah. You didn't have to listen to 110 episodes and kind of put it all together. You could just have the one, maybe.
That's right.
That we'll have. I don't feel like writing a blog post about this. I might just say, we talked about this. Here's the podcast, because I don't feel like, because I already write. So I mean, I've been doing a lot of writing on my own that's not connected to a blog post, right? Like about like these, about the books, and so I'm kind of like, I can't do another one, please, stop me. But yeah, I don't even know what photos I'll add to this because I feel like you can just look at my Instagram. You don't even need to. You don't.
You guys know where to look to find.
This will be the shortest blog. Actually, the funniest thing, the podcast about me will be the shortest blog post because it'll just be
2 links,
paragraph, and then Instagram. That's it, and then just scroll, just do whatever you want. But thanks you guys for asking me these questions. I enjoyed asking you guys yours when we interviewed you earlier this year. If you guys haven't listened to them, definitely listen to those ones with Spencer and MJ. They're a lot of fun, and I think that this is, it's kind of funny. We're not an interview podcast, but we do it because I think it's fun to learn about, how people think about clothes. And I know next year we've still got content. There's still other stuff to talk about: dating, hair.
We love hair.
Those are the only 2 I have written down for next year, so we'll see. And then immediately, it's all movies afterward.
It's all movies all the time.
Yeah. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed 2023 with us this year.
Wow.
I hope you guys have enjoyed the deep dives into expression and philosophy that we've been kind of doing lately. But there's still going to be some interviews next year. We still we'll have those sprinkled in, and
we're gonna have our sprinkles.
Sprinkles cupcakes. The Sprinkles ATM, the cupcake ATM. Remember that? Not remember it.
It's still there.
We saw someone. We watched the creator, and we were sitting outside.
Wait, is that a real thing?
Because they. Yeah,
I don't know
you
what
didn't know this?
Sprinkles cupcake thing.
Wait. You know what sprinkles are, right? The cupcake brand. Have you heard of
Yeah.
this? Okay. At the places you buy them, there's a cupcake ATM where you can, it's you pay and it gives you a cupcake.
Okay.
Yeah, it's
It's
a
like
vending
a
Like just a
vending
store?
machine. Like
Yeah,
a,
I was
it's
gonna
like
say.
it's like well, yeah, but it doesn't look. It looks like an ATM because it's connected, and so like it, yeah.
Yeah.
And I
Okay.
didn't think it worked unless people were there. Like it's fake. But we did see someone buy a cupcake, and I think it probably just has like a fridge or whatever that
It's just a
has
fridge.
that kind of stuff.
It's
Yeah.
a fridge.
But hey, if you guys have any additional questions, you know where to reach me. I
Mhm.
sometimes answer my DMs, but you can talk to me directly at our Discord. To access
That's
our
right,
Discord,
out
you go to
there.
patreon.com. Patreon.com/style and direction. $5 a month gets you access to our Discord full of other people who love us so much that they pay for us, that we lose money on. I thought we get $1. We each get $1.66 per person, but I forgot that Patreon takes a cut from that also. So it's like $1 per person that Spencer, MJ, and I get. But yeah, come there. There's a lot of great conversations, a lot of great deep dives. It's almost sometimes like an MFA Discord because we talk about MFA in there.
It's funny.
But yeah, it's a fun spot. But then you also get access to our backlog of bonus episodes, which might just end up becoming the regular feed because we're just going to be talking about movies once we stop talking about clothes.
Yeah. We're still gonna talk about.
But yeah, it's a lot of good
find
stuff
some
in
to
there.
talk about with clothes.
Yeah,
There's enough out
it's
there.
not. It's not. Yeah, we're not. It's not
Yeah.
over completely. But yeah, $10 a month gives you all those stuff. Plus, we say your name, MJ. Who are we thanking?
We are thanking our Sadcast fanatics who are Shane Curry, Philip Gregard, Henrik Wilberg, and Alexander Batten.
We appreciate you guys
We love
so
you so
much
much.
on this. We love you.
We
Uh,
We love,
if
we're
any other
actually
interviews
your friends in
happen,
real life.
I know that sometimes I get asked to be interviewed, and if this is redundant to anyone who's listened to any other recent interviews I've had on other people's podcasts, I'm sorry. but
That's just what you gotta
but
deal with, folks.
that's it, baby. That's it. It's press time. Thank you guys so much. You can follow the podcast at Style and Direction. You can follow me at Ethan M. Wong.
I'm at Spencer DSO.
I'm at Aya MJ.
We'll see you guys in the bonus at the end of the year, and then next year for mainline episodes.
That's
So
right.
Yay.
bye-bye.
Bye
Bye-bye.
Why am I waving?
They can see you.
Ooh.
Ooh.
God.
I think you say an owl.